As a quick review of our last lesson, we established that the name Jesus Christ was most likely a product of translation bias or simple errors, and there are many times and examples where names can get lost in translation. But we also discovered that our Savior is more concerned about being called Lord or Master than by his official name, Yeshua. Whether you call our Savior Jesus Christ or by his Hebrew name Yeshua, this is okay as long as you are being directed towards the Father's will, God's Torah of the Old Testament. From this point on, I need to change how we refer to the true Messiah of the New Testament and how we refer to the false Messiah that is growing in our churches. Since we have seen that the name Jesus Christ is a poor translation of Yeshua, and for the clarity of our lessons here, I will refer to the false Messiah as Jesus Christ and the true Messiah as Yeshua. If all you have wrong about our Savior is his name, that can be an honest mistake. But from this point on, I believe any misidentification is malicious and can harm our spiritual walk with our God and our Father. I am drawing a line in the sand and saying that if you have any additional identification points wrong, you are attaching yourself to a false Messiah, an impostor Messiah. If you have attached yourself to a false Messiah, wouldn't you want to know the truth? I'm here to present the case of a missing Messiah, a Jewish Messiah, one who followed all of the laws of his Father, and one who expects us to follow all the ways of our Father, the Creator of this world. In Lesson 2, we're going to continue filling out our missing persons report. As you filled out our Messiah's birth date, would your answer be describing the true Messiah of the New Testament? Are you celebrating the birthday of the true Messiah or a false Messiah? Let's look at the important role a birthday plays when identifying a person. Exact names and birthdays are intricate parts of a person's identification. According to a 2013 audit by the North Carolina Elections Oversight Committee, more than 35,000 people with matching full names and dates of birth voted in both North Carolina and another state. To put that number in context, the winner carried North Carolina by fewer than 15,000 votes in 2008. The reason that an exact birthday is so important is that our government assumes that if they have an exact name and birthday, then they have the one and only person. As I look at my driver's license, the only thing that never changes about the info on the license is my name, my date of birth, and whether I am male or female. To take this one step farther, I can legally change my name and whether people refer to me as male or female. So the only identification fact about me that will never ever change is my date of birth. In 2010, one criminal knew that his identity could be hidden if he changed his birthday. So as he filled out his application for employment at the Ohio State University, he changed the date. Sometime after he became an employee, he shot and killed one person and wounded another, resulting in a flurry of questions about why the background check did not reveal that this man had a criminal record. It turned out that the employee had intentionally given an incorrect date of birth, counting on the fact that his past record would not be discovered. Without the correct date of birth, the background screening company that performed his background check was unable to find his criminal record. In our society, a birthday determines the true identity of a person. Can we use this as an identification marker for our Savior? Can we use Christmas to determine if we are worshiping the one true Messiah? I never really gave Jesus Christ's birthday, Christmas, much thought. It was something I'd always done from the time I was born until I was 38 years old. It was a time to celebrate Jesus Christ's birth, to remember the journey he took, to remember Bethlehem and the whole story behind it, to remember all the things that happened surrounding Jesus' birth. It always struck me as a noble thing to do, something that I should defend and something that no one should take away from me. I never tied it to any sort of identity. It never crossed my mind that it could be somebody else's birthday and not my Messiah's. Now, I knew growing up that Jesus was not technically born on December 25th. I'd always been taught that it was just the adopted birthday of Jesus. It wasn't until I started looking at a birthday as a form of identification that it occurred to me to look up who else was born on December 25th. I was shocked to find out there were 13 other deities that were supposed to be born on December 25th. I never realized there were so many deities throughout history who claimed to be the Son of God and also said that they were born on December 25th. You might be saying right now, but a person whose birthday is on February 29th only has a birthday once every 4 years, a leap year. It certainly wouldn't be wrong for a person to celebrate their birthday on a different date. You might also say, I see no harm in celebrating Jesus' birthday on December 25th, even if his actual birthday rests in a different month and a different day. Up until recently, I would have agreed with you. Or you might say, well, it's just a birthday celebration. It doesn't mean anything, and it really doesn't mean anything to me because I don't know anything about these pagan practices, so how can I be participating in something that I don't even know about? That is a good question. It may be that you're simply surprised and caught off guard by this whole topic because no one has ever confronted you with this information. Let me take you on a journey throughout history and see what our history books tell us about Jesus, about his December 25th birth. Let's find out what December 25th was before Jesus came to the earth, and then take a look at how it made it into the church. And finally, let's take a look at the time Yeshua, our Savior, was most likely born. December 25th was celebrated for thousands of years before the birth of the Messiah as the birthday of ancient pagan gods, the sun god. Keep this concept of the sun god in mind as we go through this part of the study. By the time the Roman Empire legalized Christianity and established December 25th as Jesus' birthday in the 4th century, most of the other religions in the empire were already celebrating the birth of their gods on the same day, December 25th. The celebrations were often unbridled wickedness. The largest pagan religious cult in the Greek and the Roman world was the cult of Mithraism. They called it the nativity of the sun. Mithra, the sun god, was supposed to have been born on December 25th, but so were Osiris, Horus, Tammuz, Hercules, Bacchus, Adonis, Jupiter, all the pagan messiahs, because each of these have a strong connection, a strong tie to the sun. These deities, these gods, can trace their roots back to the original sun god of ancient Babylon, Nimrod. The first mention of Christmas was around 200 AD, and by 400 AD, the Roman Catholic Church first introduced the concept of Jesus' birth being on December 25th. Notice, this was in the 4th century after the Messiah. At this time, the church moved to incorporate the birthday of the sun god into the Christian calendar and convert the sun god birthday into the birthday of the Messiah himself. The date that had been distinctly pagan up until now was suddenly baptized and was transformed into something Christian. You may be thinking right now that maybe the Roman Catholic Church did us a favor by replacing these horrible pagan holidays with a Christian holiday. And I guess this can be compared to how churches are trying to overshadow Halloween with fall festivals. But the question to ask, is it possible for people to have good intentions and still do bad things? It is one thing to reinvent a holiday, which would have been a good thing. It's another thing to attribute that holiday to the worship of God, or even the recognition of God. Why would the church do this? Let's talk about the influence of Constantine. When Constantine became emperor of Rome, he professed his belief in Christianity. But being the head of a political empire, he was concerned about the unity and the coherence and stability of his empire. As a politician, he sought to reconcile and blend and mesh pagan practices with Christian beliefs, to merge paganism with the Roman Church. Constantine signed the Edict of Tolerance in AD 313, which changed the way that the government viewed Christians, restoring property and places of worship to their original owners at the cost of the government. He became emperor in AD 323, and then Christianity was enthroned. From this time, for the next 200 years, all persecutions of Christians of the Roman Church ceased. It was at this time that the ceremonies of paganism flooded into the Roman Catholic Church. Many of the old heathen feasts became church festivals with only the change of name and of worship. The sun god rituals so closely resembled the Eucharist sacrifice of the Mass that Christian fathers charged the devil with inventing these similarities to mislead frail minds. At this point, I need to bring your attention to a verse in Deuteronomy 12. Destroy completely all the high places on the high mountains, on the hills, and under every spreading tree, where the nations you are disposing or replacing worship their gods. break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and burn their Asherah poles in the fire. Cut down the idols of their gods and wipe out their names from those places. You must not worship the Lord your God in their way. Did you catch what God was saying? He is saying that He has unique ways that He wants to be worshiped. He does not want us to copy any other God in our worship to Him. Then God ends the chapter by saying this: you must not worship the Lord your God in their way, because in worshiping their God, they do all kinds of detestable things the Lord hates. They even burn their sons and daughters in the fire as sacrifices to their God. See that you do all I have commanded you. Do not add to or take away from it. We don't fully know the motives of the church fathers, and I don't want to speculate as to the reason why they chose to do what they did. These verses conflict with the decisions of the Catholic Church fathers. God clearly does not want to be worshipped on the day of other gods, or to be remembered in any way the other gods are remembered. Now to the fun part. When was Yeshua most likely born? The birth of the Messiah is not known for certain, but we can approximate within a few weeks the time of the year that He was born. You might be saying, wait. Why are you attacking my Christmas? Why are you attacking Christmas if you don't even know the exact date that He was born? Why are you even trying to make a point right now? I can tell you with certainty, the true Messiah was not born on December 25th. If I were to fill out a missing person report on the true Messiah, I would put His birthday in September, during one of God's feast days. The only Messiahs born on December 25th were false Messiahs. Now, let's look at some of the amazing clues as to when the true Messiah was really born. In the book of Luke, we read that the father of John the Baptist was Zacharias, and he was a priest who served at the temple in Jerusalem. He was of the course of Abiah, Luke 1:5. While serving at the temple, he was informed by an angel that his wife would have a son, who was to be named John. Zacharias was struck with the inability to talk after he expressed unbelief that his old wife would have a child. After this, Zacharias finished the days of his ministration and departed to his own house. And after those days, his wife Elizabeth conceived. So it makes me wonder if we can identify the priestly course of Abiah, or in other words, his assigned work track. The names of the different courses of the priests that served at the temple are given in 1 Chronicles 24, 1-19. Abiah, or Abijah, was the 8th course. According to the Jewish historian Josephus, each one of these courses served at the temple for 1 week. The course of Abijah then would have served the 8th week in the rotation. After serving a week in the temple, Zacharias would have remained another week in Jerusalem because of the feast of Shavuot or Pentecost that week. Therefore, he returned home shortly after this, and his wife then conceived. This would have been about the middle of June. If we add normal baby time, or 9 months, to the date, John the Baptist would have been born about the middle of March, in the spring shortly before the Passover. Thus, John was born in the spring, probably between March 18th and the 31st. Yeshua was conceived about 6 months after John. This would suggest that Yeshua the Messiah was conceived about the middle of December. This would place the birth 9 months or 270 days later, or the month of September, just in time for the Feast of God, like the Feast of Trumpets and the Feast of Yom Kippur. Now, a second way to look at this is to ask about the weather. Would shepherds be in the fields during December? Weather is important evidence to disprove a December date for the Messiah's birth. Note, at the time of the Messiah's birth, the shepherds tended their flocks in the field at night. Now there were in the same country shepherds living out in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. A common practice of shepherds was keeping their flocks in the fields from April to October. But in the cold and rainy months, they took their flocks back home and sheltered them. Israeli meteorologists tracked December weather patterns for many years and concluded that the climate in Israel has been essentially constant for at least the last 2,000 years. The temperature in the area of Bethlehem in December averages around 44 degrees Fahrenheit, but can drop to well below freezing, especially at night. Snow is common for 2 to 3 days in Jerusalem and nearby Bethlehem in December. These were the winter months of increasing precipitations in Messiah's time, when the roads became practically unusable and people stayed mostly indoors. Shepherds in the field at night would not have happened in December. Another evidence arguing against the December birth of Yeshua is the Roman census recorded by Luke. And it came to pass in those days that a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. So all went to be registered, everyone to his own city. Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, to be registered to Mary his betrothed wife, who was with child. So it was that while they were there, the days were completed for her to be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son. Luke's account of the census argues strongly against a December date for Messiah's birth. The Romans and Judean rulers knew that taking a census in the winter would have been impractical and unpopular. Generally, a census would be taken after the harvest season around September or October, when it would not have seriously affected the economy and the weather was good and the roads were still dry enough to allow easy travel. Again, common sense says that the true Messiah was not born in December. The reason this is so important is before we knew that Jesus' birthday had a pagan origin, before we knew December 25th was actually celebrating a false Messiah's birthday, we may have been able to claim ignorance with God. But now that we know the truth, we must look at the very first commandment that God gave. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, and with all of your soul, and with all of your mind. If we are going to do this commandment, we must commit ourselves wholly and totally to the God of the Bible. There are many passages in the Old Testament to tell us how much God abhors and hates false gods. It doesn't matter how good the intentions are. If we start filling out our missing person report and find out we're describing somebody else, consider whether you have the wrong Messiah. What is standing in your way from fully accepting the true Messiah of the New Testament? Is it your traditions? Is it peer pressure? What is it that's keeping you from accepting the New Testament Messiah that always directs people to the God of the Old Testament? Remember Deuteronomy 4:39-40. Acknowledge and take to heart this day that the Lord is God, in heaven above and on earth below. There is no other. Keep his decrees and commandments, which I will give you today, so that it may go well with you and your children after you, and that you may live long in the land the Lord your God gives you for all time. I encourage you, don't let anything stand between you and the blessings that God has for you. Don't let a false Messiah pull you away from the one true God of our Bible. Be willing to let go of anything so that you can latch onto the truth of God's words and commandments. In Lesson 3, we're going to take a look at the goals of Jesus versus the goals of Yeshua, and use the Messiah of the New Testament's very own words to discover what the goals of the true Messiah are. We will discover the true meaning behind the verse, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." To get this entire series on DVD for your home or to give to a friend, be sure to visit my website, chadgleaves.com, to purchase this today.